this thing on?
We're live.
Okay. Let's get down to business.
I'm Jake Zagoff, and I'm the commissioner of WH Wiffle Ball.
I'm Brian Buckle. I'm the founder and former captain of the Silly Sailors.
I'm Max Schwartz, and I'm a sailor.
What comes to mind when you hear the word sailor? Perhaps a captain of a ship in the middle of pirate-infested waters. Perhaps a retired gentleman enjoying his new hobby of boating on the weekends. For some, the word brings good memories. For others, it does not. To these young gentlemen, the word sailor represents years of ridicule, smears, and turbulence en route to the fulfillment of a true underdog story. Their story begins with the invention of a local wiffle ball league.
Me, Nick, Doyle, a lot of the Watchung kids, we started playing wiffle ball, and we called it the Sunday Series, which was basically the original wiffle ball league. We had two teams. We would go to Scotty at Phillips Field every Sunday, and we'd go and play some pickup wiffle ball with a tennis ball. We'd have one person in every spot of the field, so it was like a full 8v8 game. I started seeing videos on YouTube of kids playing wiffle ball in like actual organized leagues with an actual wiffle ball, and started seeing how the ball could move and how fun it looked. So I remember I came home back from the beach that week at school, started going around asking some of my buddies and their buddies if they would want to play in a league that I started.
When I first heard about the Wiffle Ball League, it was actually from a text message from one of the other captains at the time, Ryan Accomando, or as we call him, Taco. He texted me and he was like, hey, a bunch of guys from Watchung are trying to start a wiffle ball league. They want to get another captain from Greenbrook. Is that something you'd be interested in? And I was like, grew up playing wiffle ball. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for the sport, something I've always been passionate about. So I said yes. I told him I would. I'd be a captain. And, next thing I know, I'm added into a group chat with me, Doyle, Nick, the commissioner, Jake, and Taco. We're just listing off all the rules, how it's going to work, the upcoming draft, all the draft board, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to lie, it was pretty overwhelming, but I was ready for the task at hand. I don't remember the exact date, brain's getting a little fuzzy, lost CTA from the league, but draft night, I remember Commissioner Jake put us all on a call, the four of us captains. He listed off the 20 draft prospects that we could pick from. I actually ended up getting the fourth pick, and because we did a snake draft, that meant I got the fourth pick and the fifth pick, so that was pretty beneficial to me. I used the fourth pick to draft Finn DiGiacomo, fifth pick to draft Dylan LaGreca, and then the final pick of the entire draft, which ended up being my Achilles heel, to draft Maxwell Menden-Schwartz.
But it was not Max who ignited the first of many obstacles in the Sailors' path to success, but rather their first-round draft pick, Finn DiGiacomo.
Now, I remember draft night like it was yesterday. I had all my family, my friends, my neighbor, anyone that was ever close to me was at my house for draft night. It was probably one of the biggest nights of my life. So I remember sitting there, being a little anxious, a little nervous, scared, but also excited and optimistic about what the future may hold.
Man, Finn makes me think that was my first draft pick of entire career as a manager, and he wasn't even on the team for maybe 15 minutes.
So then out of nowhere, I'm waiting with my parents. I didn't get a phone call, so I was thinking maybe I didn't get drafted, worst possible scenario. But then I get added to a group chat.
When after the draft ended, I put us all in one group chat and I said, hey guys, this is going to be our wiffle ball team. And Finn goes, I'm not playing on this team unless I get more money.
Initially, Buckle was a little shady with my contract. He wanted to short me a few dollars. I didn't really know what to do. So, in order to protect myself, and I know what I'm worth, so I decided to hold out and wait till I got a better contract.
And money was just something we didn't have at the time. We were a small market franchise, didn't have a lot of fans, we were very new.
So I call up Buckle, and Buckle invites me over to his house saying that he wants to have a meeting with me.
So I told him, we don't have the funds. If you want a bigger contract, we can't provide you one. He said, okay, I'm sitting out then. And rest is history. He said he was sitting out, so I ended up cutting him. I had someone else that I wanted to bring into the roster, and I say it worked out for both parties.
With Finn's departure, the Sailors would have to begin a process which would become a common recurrence in their franchise's history, filling an empty roster spot.
Oh yeah, James Hughes was the guy that I looked at and scouted for a while and eventually signed him. He was an undrafted free agent.
When Buckle first approached me about joining the Sailors, I was pretty happy. Wiffle ball was a big part of my childhood, and I was excited to keep that dream alive as a teenager.
It was a little bit difficult process getting him onto the team. You know, Jake was very concerned about types of players he wanted to allow in the league, but I think we got James a tryout. Jake got to see what he was made of, got to see that he was a good person, good character, no off the field issues, and that allowed us to bring him in as an undrafted free agent to replace Finn.
I wasn't drafted originally in the original WH Wiffle Ball draft, but Buckle approached me as a free agent, and I joined the team without any question.
With a roster of dedicated young men devoted to the game of wiffle ball in its inaugural season, all that was left was a team name and brand.
So I remember Jake, like he always does before the season, says, guys, let's get team names, jerseys, uniforms, let's look like put together league to give us some legitimacy.
One of the big things that the commissioner was really harping on the entire time was make sure everyone's got jerseys. We'd want to have signature look for each team.
So it was me, Maxwell, and Brian Buckle, I think his name was. And we went to Party City to look out for some new team outfits. Because we just recently joined a wiffle ball league. We had no information about it at all, and
We were a very small market team. We didn't have a lot of money, so
took a trip to Party City, and we were trying on all these different things, different hats. There's gonna be the firefighters, the policemen, the captains, the tacos. There's actually a taco, a tortilla shell we put on our head.
we thought about the Pirates. We thought about the Dolphins. We ended up finding a sailor hat that was both very cheap, and there were 3 of them. So we decided we could buy all 3 of these hats and then just use the white and blue color scheme that the hat had for the jerseys.
So yeah, and then we also found the shark fin because there was only 3 sailor hats. So they gave me the shark fin, obviously.
From there, it was just sparking there. I think it was Brian who said, what if we're the Silly Sailors? And we looked up, I think I went on Google to find out where Silly was, and Silly was in Belgium. So we became the Belgium Silly Sailors. And so that's why we had the flag on the bottom of the jersey. And I think we wore those sailor hats all day. We went to Acme, went to Walgreens, just walk around in sailor hats because, it was the first time we felt confident. Those sailor hats, that uniform, it gave us purpose. It gave us a sense of power.
But not everyone felt that way. Rather, the Sailors endured hostility for their unconventional style of play.
When we joined the league, I didn't feel too much hostility. I mean, there was some hostility towards us. We were the new team. We were the funnest team. We were called the Silly Sailors. And then the the narrative for hating the Sailors kind of just rose as the league went on.
Like I said, draft night, everyone was making fun of me for drafting a team. They thought we wouldn't be able to compete in the league, and it's made me think about, what are my options here? We can go out there, try our hardest, and lose every game, or we can maybe try and flip the script, tamper a little bit, maybe get something going.
So we decided to cork the bat.
Us being silly, we wanted to cork a bat, see what would happen. Would we get suspended? Would we get fined? Expulsion, you never know.
So we were at Party City one day, and we saw these bouncy balls.
Yeah, we cut up the bouncy balls, right? And we just put them in the bat. And honestly, we wouldn't have gotten it to work until Mr. Schwartz himself came out there and helped us cork this bat.
Got Max's dad to help us out. He gave us a nice saw that we sawed the balls in half with and stuffed them in the bat.
And we used it, we tested it out, and we were hitting bombs. We were just cranking it out.
And, we were very smart with it, too. We made 2 identical bats, one corked, one not. That way, if people asked to use our bat, we would just give them the normal one, and they wouldn't think twice about it.
So I remember we had one rule. The only rule we had, don't let the other team touch it. We had 2 identical bats. Pick the cork bat up after you're out, bring it to the dugout, and leave the other bat. That was too much for Dylan LaGreca to comprehend.
So to begin the Wiffle Ball League, it was just a week long of excitement, pure emotion, being a member of the Brookhill Dolphins, I was just going into this league with, my hopes high, looking to have some fun with the fellas.
I was expecting them to tell me when they were playing so I could take their stats and stuff, but they didn't.
I believe the commissioner didn't even know we had a game. We had a great matchup against the Silly Sailors, who would have quite the reputation in this league. And we get there, and I'm at bat. I swing the bat. My teammates are swinging the bat. Other teams swinging the bat. But they were swinging the bat quite differently.
I remember Dylan strikes out, and me and Brian are just looking at each other because he leaves the bat right on home plate, right smack in the where it's got to be moved. Me and Brian are like, Dylan, pick up the bat. He's like, what do you mean pick up the bat? Well, who picks up the bat but Nick Candeloris?
Some would say this drop quite literally shook the world because the bat was so heavy.
All of a sudden, mid-making eggs, I get a phone call from Nick Candeloris. I pick up, and he goes, Jake, the Sailors corked their bat. You need to get down top of the World Park now. Hangs up. I'm like, whoa.
I go to pick up the bat from the plate, and here's when I find out, this league was in for quite the scandal, as the bat was about 14.6 pounds, and their bat was corked.
It was kind of dumb. I mean, the person who, let's say, caught us is not good at wiffle ball.
I remember Nick picks up the bat, and I remember Nick goes to home plate, getting ready to get in the batter's box. He's, what is in this bat?
Essentially, take the bat to my dugout, open it up, find 7 bouncy balls from Party City, lodged in the bat.
What basically happened was I had the bat, nothing was like wrong, hit it, run, throw it out, threw the bat, changed sides, and then Robbie Two-Ball, of all the people, Robbie Two-Ball, comes along, waltzes on over to the bat, and picks up our bat. I mean, where's the respect? I mean, it is our bat.
Ended up calling the commissioner, and as I'm calling the commissioner, the bat gets lost, and Dylan Greca hides it in a tree.
I get to the field, and Dylan is mid-hiding the bat when I get there. He runs into the woods and hides it.
I think Dylan hit it in a tree somewhere.
Yeah, so when I hit it in the tree, I found out the commissioner was coming, James Reiner, and I just, my fight instinct kicked in, and I just said, hey, we got to put it in the tree, man.
I can't remember who went and got it. I think it was Nick. He went and grabbed it, handed it to me, and it's just full of bouncy balls.
The Sailors were cheaters, okay? The legacy is tarnished.
Very unexpected, but honestly, looking back on it, I wouldn't expect anything less from a team with Brian Buckle and Dylan LaGreca on it.
Yeah, that's another good question. I mean, I know all fingers point at me for blame, but I mean, the real one you got to blame here is Max Schwartz. I mean, it was all his idea to cork this bat. Went to his house. I mean, we borrowed his dad to create this illegal bat. I mean, I don't know. You can blame me for leaving it at home plate and Robbie Two-Ball picking it up. But at the end of the day, we have to look at who's really responsible.
I mean, I can't really blame Dylan. When you're playing football, you don't expect to get jumped, and that's what happened. And somehow we got turned into the bad guys in that situation for having a corked bat, let alone the fight that broke out. But it's neither here nor there. It's in the past.
But for Dylan, it was in the present. So much so that he eagerly missed a few games when given the opportunity, that being to ref a hockey game, leading to a conundrum.
I remember this. This was our last regular season game, regular season series of the season. And at this point, the tray ball was in full effect. Everyone knew what it was, and we hadn't faced it yet, but we were ready. Well, not all of us, because Dylan couldn't come. I think he was reffing a hockey game, and they told us we couldn't play unless we got a fourth. So I decided that I would call my neighbor, guy that lives right down the street, good friend of mine, John King, asked him if he wanted to play on the team, if he wanted to sub. He said he could.
So when I first heard about the league, it all started from a little text. I got a text from Max saying if I wanted to play wiffle ball. I had no No idea it would turn into what it is today, honestly. The league being what it is with so many players. I got a text. It was through Snapchat. It was basically, do you want to come play wiffle ball today? And then I obviously responded yes. So going into this, my one theory was pitching. Pitching is probably going to be hard to do because the way the ball moves, I don't know if many people know how to pitch. But when I get there, the first thing I hear is there's no speed limit. This excited me. I've played baseball since I was like 4 years old, so being able to throw my hardest was kind of, showing my ego, showing what I could do. But I didn't know that on the other side of the field was Ryan Tricozzi. And now known as the creator of the tray ball.
The tray ball. One of the league's most notorious pitches coined by me. I pretty much just gripped it like this, like a slider. I just let it rip. The ball was coming in probably close to 100 miles an hour. Do I feel bad? No. I talked to Jake in the preseason about that pitch the whole time. He said I could throw as hard as I want, and I did it. I gave up one hit the whole year. It was to John King. Shout out to John King. But, that was an unhittable pitch and really let this league feel my wrath.
He may have thrown as hard as me, but he threw every pitch as a strike. I couldn't do that. He got every single out and every single strikeout except one, in which I somehow made contact as the only hit ever recorded on the tray ball.
John King's hit, it was the only one I gave up that whole season, as I already mentioned.
It was like close on the hands, and I hit it a ground ball in between Ryan Tricozzi, and the first baseman was Ryan Accomando.
He just got a piece of the bat on the ball, and he hit like a soft little liner to second base.
Following that hit, I screamed, "He is mortal," because I felt special in that moment.
It was a hell of a hit and a hell of an accomplishment, to be honest.
I didn't know if I was a sailor at that point. So following that, I kind of let myself know, like, hey, this may not happen again. So,
Do I consider John to be a sailor from that point? Wow. Me personally, I'm just going to look at the guy told me. He said that John King told me he became a sailor the day he joined the league, which was in season 2. He was not an official league member. He wasn't in any of the group chats. The board didn't acknowledge his existence as a player, more as just a substitute, so he was not a sailor.
I kind of wanted to be a part of it, but obviously I was still sub. Obviously I'm not part of the full team, so the only way I could actually play is if someone wasn't there or someone wasn't available. So I didn't get my hopes up, but I got the message to come back for another game, and that's when I figured I was part of the team. But then I heard that Brian Buckle was no longer part of the team.
Controversy arose yet again at the onset of the first playoff game, this being perhaps the greatest controversy in this storied franchise's history.
Yeah, so leading up to that first playoff series against the Coastal Cavs, a lot of drama going on.
I had texted Buckle because he was the team captain, and me and Doyle texted Buckle. Doyle was the captain, I was the commissioner, but so I was also involved in a lot of the scheduling and all that. So we texted Buckle, when can we play? I guess he texted his team, and they kind of gave us the green light to play on a certain day, and we found out that day that Buckle couldn't play that day.
So I remember one night I text Jake, like we always do, like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Nothing. He goes, you want to play some wiffle ball? And I meant, just an exhibition, like just fun time. And I think he took that as scheduling a playoff game. He says, let me check. I'm like, is he checking his schedule or something? Turns out he was checking with his troops. And they're like, yeah, we're in. get your guys ready, because he was trying to, it's very regimented like that. He tries to get these games in, get these next seasons going. And so I was like, okay.
There was also a little hiccup in scheduling for this game. Maxwell Menden Schwartz went behind our manager's back. I think Brian Buckle was his name. I just want to reiterate that he went behind his back, scheduled this game, and then we proceeded to then win the game. We proceeded to lose the game in amazing fashion. I mean, you won't see another thing like this, another 1,000 years.
What most people don't realize, though, is that Jake wasn't even the captain of his team either. And Doyle had no problem with Jake scheduling the game. But Brian had a huge problem me scheduling the game.
I remember waking up that morning and seeing a text from Max. We're playing today against the Coastal Cavs. Pretty much everyone responded except one person, my captain, Brian Buckle. So Max proceeded to text, and Buckle wasn't answering. So he said, Buckle, if you don't answer, we're getting John King to play in your spot for the playoff game.
From my perspective, I was called in. I figured someone wasn't available for the game against the Cavs. I didn't know that Brian Buckle had ended up quitting the team.
So the next morning, Brian woke up, he saw the text, I guess he was sleeping that night, and he said, I got an appointment or something at like 10:45 or something, and the game was supposed to be at, I think, 10:30, we played early back then. We're night owls now. And I said, that's fine, just come after your appointment. Just meet us there, and, midway through the game, join up. But he didn't like that very much.
I woke up the morning of the playoff game to our group chat saying the game was on, and that because I hadn't responded due to my sleep and my slumber, that they had got John King to replace me on my own team. And so from that point forward, I decided, how can I be a part of an organization that doesn't want me there? And I decided to leave. And luckily, because I was the captain, I had the ability to do so.
And during the game, I texted him. I'm like, where are you, man? He's like, I couldn't play. They scheduled the game without me.
Midway through the playoff game, Buckle texted, what the fuck, guys, and demanded his release from the Sailors, I guess, or he just quit, basically. And about 20 minutes later, we saw his support of the Islanders on Snapchat in a breaking news post.
I didn't know the full extent of it, so I wasn't going to choose sides. I was just there to play some wiffle ball. And I was kind of happy that I finally had my spot.
My captain, Brian Buckle's departure was a sad story for the Sailors. He was the person who approached me to join the Sailors originally, and I was happy to play for him.
Kind of a shame that I didn't get to play with Brian that much. But he did. I saw some pictures, and the pictures let it be known that he was out against us. And honestly, I took that personally.
I think the truth doesn't always come out correctly. It's just whoever's loudest. And I understand Brian's frustration. I would be unhappy too. I've been in similar situations throughout my tenure in the league. I can look back on that and I can say, you know what? I understand why he was upset.
Brian couldn't make it to the game, and tensions were high between him and Max. Max scheduled the game without him. Buckle not happy considering it was his own team and they lost without him. He drafted Max. Max kind of went behind his back a little bit, scheduled the game, and they lost. So I could see where Buckle was kind of coming from that point of view, but the game needed to be played, and I guess the show had to go on.
It's really just sad to see that, from a captain like that. Look up to a guy that just leads the team. I can't talk. I'm sorry, I can't talk about this anymore.
There's a few things that he gets wrong. There's a few things that the narrative gets wrong that I want to set straight. I did not kick him out. I did not force him out. We played a game. Did I schedule it without him? Yes. But it was with the intention that he was going to come. and show up and play. I remember sitting there in the dugout when the text messages were leaked, the anti-Sailor text messages, and I remember sitting having a conversation with my teammate James Hughes, and just talking, saying how it hurt that he stabbed us in the back, which is what he accused us of doing. Yet we were still supportive of him till the very end. And James he did not mince words with him, and neither did I. And next thing I know, I'm getting added to this group chat for the captains by Brian, just so he would then leave the group chat and declare himself a free agent. And I don't know where all the complaints came from. He ended up signing with a team to win the World Series at the very last second, so worked out well in his favor, and let's leave it at that.
This scheduling mishap would prove not to be the end of Brian Buckle's career, however. In fact, it would prove not to even be the end of Brian Buckle's season.
Mutiny was committed within the Sailors. They kind of got rid of their captain. Don't know how they got away with that, but it happened nonetheless for my game, and the league's lost, so Buckle was on the free agent market. We were looking for another bat, maybe another spark plug guy.
So after I left the Sailors, I was immediately reached out to by captain of the IEF Islanders, Ryan Accomando. He said that one of their players was, I think, injured, and they needed a fourth, and I was available, and they said, we'll sign you.
I saw he was available. We had mutual interest, and I thought I'd bring him along.
And next thing you know, I was donning an Islanders jersey and begging the commissioner to let me play in the World Series.
When he started saying that he was leaving the Sailors and wanted to go to the Islanders, I was a little bit iffy about that, because at the time, Brian was probably one of the better contact hitters in the league, and the Islanders were 9-0 at the time, didn't even get to play their playoff game.
The whole process was a little difficult. Like I said before, he was a captain and not necessarily a player that was dropped, so it was a little bit of a difficult conversation to have with him, the rest of the league, and especially the commissioner.
The hashtag Let the Kid Play movement was something that me and my PR team started after I joined the Islanders. A lot of people were questioning whether it was legal, whether it was allowed for a new player who had just joined the team to be able to be on the roster for the World Series game.
I did not know that it was going to last this long. I thought it could have just been a one-and-done season, so I was like, you know what, I'll let the kid play.
There were doubts that he was going to be able to let him play, but I knew at the end of the day, what do we always say in football? Let the kids play. So that motto kind of rang true, and thank God he was there.
The first World Series, that was a sight to behold.
It was a good game. We couldn't really do much at the plate other than walk, considering Trey was throwing 140 miles per hour. But yeah, we had a good time. I love the Cavs. Cavs was one of my favorite teams I've ever been a part of. Me, Doyle, Finn, Christian. I thought that was just a fun team overall. But yeah, we lost in a heartbreaker. Sharf made a questionable decision to pretend to be the umpire for a little bit, and kind of blew us the game. But that World Series will live down in infamy as one of the best games of all time, in my opinion.
The first World Series, that was definitely, in my opinion, one of my greatest accomplishments. Threw a no-hitter in a World Series game, won that game 1-0. Jake also pitched a hell of a game. He gave up one hit to Brian Buckle, a former Sailor, as you all know. Base hit down the line to score our only RBI of the game. Won that game, and I couldn't be more proud of those guys.
Oh, the first World Series was a hell of a game, My opinion, probably one of the best games ever, even though there wasn't too much action. But if you guys love a pitch-up duel, that's what it was. There was literally one hit in the whole game, which led us to the win. Huge accomplishment in my career as well as my teammates. My first real award, same with everyone else's. So it was very exciting when we finally secured the W, and got to shout out the teammates, Trey, no-hitter, Buckle, game winner, Hayward came to play, and we just put on performance and got the job done.
Yeah, so the Season 1 World Series, I think it's still technically the highest rated World Series according to TV analytics because of just the competitiveness of the game. It was a pitching duel. The Trey ball, again, could not be hit, and Jake was definitely at his peak for pitching because, I mean, Jake's season 1 pitching was one of the best I've ever seen. Definitely his best season pitching-wise. Either way, he gave up 2 walks. I don't remember which inning it was. It was a while ago. He gave up 2 walks. The runners were on second and first, and I was up to the plate. And, you know, I had been working on my swing for a while, the new team, all the energy that came with it. I ended up getting a hold of one, and I remember striping the ball as hard as I could hit it, probably, right off the left field fence. It was a hard-hit line drive. I remember their shortstop ran out and got the ball, but by then it was too late. Our runner had crossed home plate. That was the only RBI of the game, and we ended up winning 1-0.